All right, how are you guys today? We have another reaction video for you guys, and it's Jeff Bezos on Lex Fridman. Rarely do we ever see Jeff Bezos frolicking about on podcasts, so let's just get right into it.
If you were to study your own brain, introspect, how do you think? What's your thinking process like? We'll talk about the writing process of putting it down on paper, which is quite rigorous and
Amazon's
famous
known for that.
at Amazon.
Yeah, yeah.
But how do you, when you sit down, maybe alone, maybe with others, and thinking through this high dimensional space and looking for creative solutions, creative paths forward, is there something you could say about that process?
It's such a good question.
There he is.
And I honestly don't know how it works. If I did, I would try to explain it. I know it involves lots of wandering.
Yeah.
So when I sit down to work on a problem, I know I don't know where I'm going. So to go in a straight line, to be efficient, efficiency and invention are sort of at odds, because real invention, not incremental improvement. Incremental improvement is so important in every endeavor and everything you do. You have to work hard on also just making things a little bit better. But I'm talking about real invention, real lateral thinking. That requires wandering. And you have to give yourself permission to wander. I think a lot of people, they feel like wandering is inefficient and like when I sit down at a meeting, I don't know how long the meeting is going to take if we're trying to solve a problem, because if I did, then I'd know there's some kind of straight line that we're drawing to the solution. The reality is we may have to wander for a long time.
I'm going to stop him right there. It sounds like we're off to a solid start. It's so true. That is the creative process. Anything that you may have pursued, created, a project, anything of the liking, I'm sure you found that there's so many unanswered questions. And the whole journey in and of itself is trying to tackle the unknown with tenacity while trying to maintain your sanity. But I think there's something so beautiful about understanding that there is permission to be given in the wandering process, because that's where you let your intuition through. It's not so much about the logical brain always trying to take over. It's not about always trying to understand the exact strategy that's going to lead you to your goal, because as Jeff had just noted there, if you knew the answer, you wouldn't have to ruminate. You don't necessarily know where your ideas are going to lead you, and there's an exciting adventure about that, because you almost discover something about yourself while allowing yourself to just come up with things on the spot, on the fly, and letting it flow naturally through you.
And I do like group invention. I think there's really nothing more fun than sitting at a whiteboard with a group of smart people and spitballing and coming up with new ideas and objections to those ideas, and then solutions to the objections, and going back and forth. So, sometimes you wake up with an idea in the middle of the night, and sometimes you sit down with a group of people and go back and forth, and both things are really pleasurable.
And when you wander, I think one key thing is to notice a good idea, and to notice the kernel of a good idea. Maybe pull at that string.
Yes. Just as a very quick note, don't mean to interrupt Lex too much here. What I find so interesting sometimes about a creative pursuit is that retrospectively, I try to ask myself, did I get the most out of my experience because I had simply submitted to the experience and to the environment, or because I was aware of how present I was and attempted to be present in that experience? And sometimes it's just so difficult to deal and toggle with that in the moment, because you're just so inundated with thoughts and ideas and concepts and whatever the case might be. But it's really interesting to think later on, like, was I be able to extract as much juice, creative juice, from that experience if I was recognizing that it was an immersive experience, or by just kind of letting myself flow through it, right?
I think good ideas come fully formed.
100% right. In fact, when I come up with what I think is a good idea, and it survives kind of the first level of scrutiny, that I do in my own head, and I'm ready to tell somebody else about the idea, I will often say, look, it is going to be really easy for you to find objections to this idea, but work with me.
There's something there.
There's something there, and that is intuition.
Yeah.
Because it's really easy to kill new ideas in the beginning, because they do have so many easy objections to them. So you need to kind of forewarn people and say, look, I know it's going to take a lot of work to get this to a fully formed idea. Let's get started on that. It'll be fun.
Absolutely. That there's such humility in that, and I feel we already inhibit ourselves in the process of thinking creatively or trying out a new path on something that we're trying to build, or even when just working with other people because we think, oh crap, I'm not going to be able to see this idea through. It has so many holes in it. Other people aren't going to recognize it as a formidable idea, or something that's worthwhile. And I think that it's just so important to just have this humility, and for the people that you're working with to set a precedent with them. And I think that managing and nurturing that seed of potential at the beginning is so much more important for your own conditioning and how you create collectively with other people, rather than just deciding if it's good, bad, right, wrong, right off the get-go, because that's the beauty of the unknown is you're not supposed to know right away. That's what makes it a completely new experience and a potentially new thought process and paradigm for you to continue forward with. And you can see from people like Jeff Bezos, who have completely mastered systems thinking and building teams, projects, new initiatives, all of the liking, that he is not even himself afraid to come up with a bad idea. And it's a very important lesson, especially when you're getting started, because I know when you're getting started with something, the one thing that you have your confidence to build on is a slight level of proficiency, because you don't even know how good you are yet. So any kind of feedback you can get is the only leg that you're standing on. But don't worry about that, because that will come as an emergent quality of your ability to just be gritty with it, be playful with your ability to come up with new ideas and try something new in the process.
So you got that ability to say cosine in you somewhere, after all. Maybe not on math, but
in a different domain.
yeah.
There are 1,000 ways to be smart, by the
Yeah.
way. And that is a really, like, when I go around, and I meet people, I'm always looking for the way that they're smart. And you find that's one of the things that makes the world so interesting and fun, is that it's not like IQ is a single
Yep.
dimension. There are people who are smart in such unique ways.
Yeah, you just gave me a good response to when somebody calls me an idiot on the internet.
There we go,
Lots
Lex.
of ways to be smart, sir.
Well,
We should all use
they
that
might
one.
tell you, yeah, but there are a million ways to be dumb.
Yeah, right.
There we go.
I feel like that's a Mark Twain quote.
I really want to bring this back into philosophy here on the tail end of this conversation, because I feel like philosophy and self-help are very easily conflated, especially in the modern world today. And when you look at the whimsical nature of creativity and coming up with new thought processes, new ideas, philosophy seems to be very misunderstood, I guess I can say. And what I want to say on that regard, and in the hopes to inspire people to engage and hopefully even create and write more philosophy, is that philosophy doesn't always have to have a call to action nature where there's a cause and effect. The philosophy is what's going to lead you to your desired outcome. It can be like that in some regard, particularly when you look at Stoicism, right? Where you may hear a quote, one of the very, very well-known quotes, I believe, by Seneca, is that we suffer more in mind than we do in reality. And that could be a clear output for us when we're dealing with an uncomfortable position, especially when it only exists in our mind. But I think philosophy can and is and should be much more abstract, because it allows us to pick holes in how we're thinking. And it's not supposed to describe truth. I think our scientific prowess and progress has enabled us to do that with actually much more solidarity. I think philosophy's role is actually in approximating truth. So you hear a philosophy, or you hear maybe, let's say, go back to Nietzsche, for example, one of the most famous quotes, "God is dead." Now, you don't have to take that literally, or it doesn't have to be a real description, even though he was describing how Christianity and humanity's belief systems had started to become further and further divergent. But I think the approximation of what it means for the human condition to attach itself to meaning that's external from itself, and what it will do when it releases itself from that, is much more telling, is much more philosophical and inspiring from a vantage point of what it really means to come up with new thoughts and what that means for humanity as a whole, rather than just taking it for what it is as a call to action and whether or not we should be religious or not as a species. So there's a lot to dissect there. We could possibly do that in another video. I just wanted to highlight some of what Jeff had to say here. Cool to see him on, Lex. And I hope you guys enjoyed that. So if you have any thoughts on that, please feel free to comment below. Share your thoughts, opinions, ideas, new ideas within creativity perhaps. But see you on the next one. Please like and subscribe. It helps more than you know, and we'll definitely be talking to you soon. Thank you.